right, everybody.
Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. Father Hines and his great band playing for you from the new Grand Terrace on Chicago's great South Side. Get ready now for 30 minutes of super jive in the Father Hines style. Yeah. What could this be? Ah, it's a Limehouse Blues.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Heather. Are we gonna put like a tiny bit of pasta stuck in your like nose? Not fun. There it is. Well, all right. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Timothy. The Heathers. Chris, Cindy, Jim. We got a brand new show tonight. Photo finish, getting it done. Hey, Laura. Always good to see you out there. Hey, Casey. Hey, Karen. Welcome along, everybody. Hey, Octavio. Got a whole new one for you tonight. Hey, everybody. I know what I forgot. I forgot to put in the Fool Killer. The whole explanation. All right. We'll get something going. Hey, Karen.
That's what you call a powerhouse coda. Yeah, Earl Father Hines carries on now and presents Leroy Harris to sing Teacher's Pet.
Hey, here comes Miles. Miles, you're gonna be good, right? You shouldn't walk on the keyboard. I told you this. What have we done here now? Hey, Bob. Hey, Jim. Hey, everybody. Have a seat, Miles. That's what I want you to do. All right. Sit there and let everybody see. Miles is up here now, and wherever he goes, Ember tends to want to go. Hey, Diane. Hey, Joanne. Hey, Bernadette. Hey, Heather and Lorena. Hey, everybody. Welcome along. It's another virtual time travel pub crawl. I'm having some scotch. Got some Bob Dylan tickets today. It's a good day for scotch. But I didn't get one for Saginaw. You want to go up and say hi? how big you're getting, Ember. Marita, hey, Susan. Hey, Jeff, hey, Kathy. Now that is Ember.
Give our faithful seat a slap and
Hey,
carry
Megan.
on and jive. Hi-ho, Silver!
Okay. Thank you for the note, Kathy. All right. Hey, Eric. Hey, Tom. This little Ember getting so big already. Hey, Pat. She's calming down quite a bit now. Still plays a lot, but it's not quite as much like having a toddler around all the time. Want to try TikTok, Ember? Charlie used to make a mess. Say like this. Say like this. Go TikTok, 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 TikTok. TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Nope. Okay. Miles still right here. There's a Miles in the tour tonight, you know. There's a guy named Miles in this tour. Tom, that'll be next week. This is actually Robert Ford holding forth at this Chicago pub with his reward money for killing Jesse James.
We're driving out west here. Well, let's stop and have a little Father Hines melody of the Colorado sunset. Jive.
It's a photo finish getting this tour done in time. Thank you, Kathy. Gotta have some warm weather clothes going right now. It's gonna get the down to below 0 in Chicago over the weekend. Yes, there's more of gravy than of find the grave to me tonight. Hey, Jenna's here. Does Miles frequent the Den of Thieves? Yes, he does steal the show.
My very sweetheart, good night.
60 in Arkansas, huh? 20s here in Chicago. But I got a new coat.
Every blade of grass where I roam.
We will not be sledding this weekend, no.
Hand in hand, we'll stand beneath the moon and bid the Colorado sunset good night.
Hey, Geraldine. Susan, it's always time for some ice cream. I got some Trader Joe's peppermint in the fridge. It's okay. Hey, Subway J. We'll do the more holiday-themed one next week when we do Time Travel Pub Crawl Drink Like the Dickens.
With a bow to Leroy Harris for the words, we turn on now to the next tune. Earl Father
Hey,
Hines
Brian.
with a bit of jive under the general heading
I
of
kind of want to redo that one a little bit, you know, update it, change the plot around a little, but these things are a lot of work. Trying to do this all in about the last week was, while I was out of town for part of it, not my brightest idea. But all right. You know where the donate buttons are. Hey, Linda. Hey, Gary. Welcome along, everybody. We're going to let Earl Father Hines do another tune here while we get people online. For a brand new one. Time travel pub crawls take a lot longer to put together. I wasn't able to really get much music for this one. Maybe when we do like version 2 of this one, I'll be able to add some tunes into it. Hey, Beth. Hey, Lori. Hey to all the Mysterians out there. Next week, Drink Like the Dickens is one of my favorite of the pub crawls. Well, other Christmas specials are trying to figure out what Christmas is all about. We're trying to figure out what the hell the Pickwick Papers is about. Vegetable barley soup. That sounds good. Hey, Eileen. I had pasta with giardiniera tomato sauce tonight. It was just spicy tomato sauce, really. It was pretty good. I've been feeling like pasta lately. I was so glad to see that I have meatballs in stock. Tomorrow afternoon, I got a cookie party to go to for patrol members. Pepsi on the rocks. That sounds good, Bob. We're going to let Earl Father Hines finish up this tune coming to you from the Grand Terrace Ballroom, where he swore he met Al Capone. He said that Al wanted them to be like the Three Monkeys. You don't hear anything, you don't see anything, you don't say anything. Went to a goth shop in Dumfries. There was really just nothing but like statues of the three wise whatevers. Hedgehogs, fairies. Congrats to John Katie. Let Earl Father Hines finish up this number. It's a little longer than I thought. That sounds like it's wrapping up.
Well, we're about halfway through the...
All right, then we're about halfway through a half hour of Super Jive with Earl Father Hines. Tonight is a time travel pub crawl. You know what that means. It is time for our theme song.
Climb aboard, cause you don't know exactly where or when we'll go. Chicago 1893, or the Gilded Age in NYC. Blast off into outer space, drink till you're flat on your face. From the comfort of your home, so if you puke alone, one day we'll even find that place in France. And don't come crying to us if you pee your pants. Time travel pub crawl. Time travel pub crawl. Time travel pub crawl. Yeah!
Welcome along, everybody. Welcome to Mysterious Chicago. I'm Adam Seltzer for Mysterious Chicago Tours. I have been a tour guide and historian here in Chicago for over 20 years now, author of such books as Flickering Empire, How Chicago Invented the U.S. Film Industry, Mysterious Chicago, the book, Ghosts of Chicago, now in a 10th anniversary edition. It's probably about time to get to the 25th. No, it's 20s. 15th. I know numbers, I really do. H.H. Holmes, The True History of the White City Devil. Graceland Cemetery, Chicago's Stories, Symbols, and Secrets, Volume 2 is well underway now. Graveyards of Trinity Church in St. Paul's, which actually turns up on the tour tonight. And the latest, Chicago's Serial Husband, The Marriages and Murders of Johann Hawk. I want to especially point that one out tonight. I'm about to paste a link into the comments here, because this one is nominated by the Chicago Reader for Best of Chicago 2025. This is up for Best New Book by a Chicagoan. It's the kind of award where people vote for things, so I feel it is... I'm kind of duty-bound to write it, because I don't know to post it. I don't know how many people have actually read the thing. So, if you can't hear me, Sorry, I don't know what the issue is. I think most people can hear me just fine. So sorry about that, Kathleen. But I'd say try pushing more of your buttons, but if you can't hear me, I don't really know what to say. But all right, everybody. So today we are going to be doing one of our time travel pub crawls. During the pandemic, we started doing virtual tours, thought virtual pub crawls would be fun. And since this is virtual, we're not bound by time or space. We fly around in the Fool Killer submarine, a wreck of a submarine that was found in the Chicago River in 1915 and disappeared off the record the next year. We found that it was in the couch tube. It not only flies through time and space, it also slices and dices and makes julienne fries. So we fly that around all over the place. And today, in fact, December 11th is a special anniversary in Chicago history. It was 104 years ago today, that terrible Tommy O'Connor escaped from the Chicago jail. This is terrible Tommy O'Connor himself, a member of various safe-cracking and bank-robbing gangs in Chicago. Most famously, well, at this time, in 1918, he was part of a gang of 4 people that robbed the Illinois Central Station, which is right about where the Bean is now in Millennium Park. So these 4 guys drove into the place right when the payroll was being transported, stole the payroll, killed a couple of people in the process. The police, as you can see here on day 1, arrested 204 people on suspicion of being involved in this. Only 4 actually were, and none of the people that they picked up on that first day. The next day, they arrested something like 300 people. And in the middle of arresting 300 people, Bugs Moran, who would later be the head of the North Side Mob, got into a firefight with Detective Sergeant John W. Norton, who had been with the police ever since the H.H. Holmes murder castle investigation back in 1895, and seems to turn up in pretty much all of the 1910s and 1920s stories. So, in the process of getting shot by Bugs Moran, John W. Norton did help nab one of the suspects, a guy named Harry Emerson. Harry Emerson named several other people who involved, including terrible Tommy O'Connor. About a year after the whole thing, in January of 1919, terrible Tommy went to his old best friend, Jimmy Sharon, and said, "Listen, I need you to get arrested and go into jail so you can kill Harry Emerson. Then I'll bust you out of jail." When James refused, not wanting to leave his wife and baby behind, Tommy killed him. So now he was wanted for a couple of murders. Eventually he was captured at just sitting around at home, but was acquitted of the Illinois Central slaying. Exactly how, I'm not really sure. They kept him in jail so they could put him on trial for killing James Sharon as well, but then the main witness got kidnapped and disappeared. They had to let Tommy O'Connor go. When that witness reappeared again, the 5 police officers went up to the place where they thought terrible Tommy O'Connor was staying, ready to bring him in again to stand trial once and for all. But at this point, things went a little bit haywire. As these police officers closed in on the place, Tommy opened a fire. He would always say that it was really the cops who had done all the shooting, and they just got one of their own. But in any case, one of the detectives, Patrick O'Neill, was killed, and terrible Tommy O'Connor was now wanted for about 3 murders. They were calling him the biggest gunfighter in all of Chicago. So he disappeared after this, went on the run, but then he was in Minnesota and tried to rob a train while he was really high. So instead of robbing the train, he got beaten up by a reporter who snatched the gun right out of his hand and allowed the police to come and get him. He was immediately sentenced to be hanged, but then, December of 1921, he somehow managed to break out of jail. There were a lot of different diagrams as to how he might have pulled this off. It involved climbing over a 20-foot wall. The real case was probably just that he had bribed enough people to get out of jail, get into a car, and drive away. One of the police officers the next day, one of the chiefs, said no, he didn't escape jail, he just left. That was about it. There was just that much bribery going on, and terrible Tommy O'Connor was never caught. So this would be a thing for a while. That a reporter needed a day off, he could say, "Listen, I got a tip on where terrible Tommy O'Connor is. I gotta go follow this up." And then just fall asleep and come in the next day saying, "Nope, didn't go anywhere." Cab drivers, and according to reporters, it was almost always cab drivers, used to break into bust into the newspaper offices all the time saying, "I just gave terrible Tommy O'Connor a ride. I need a reporter right now." Everybody was kind of hoping to get the award money. But years passed by. There were rumors that he was off fighting with the Toohey Gang. There were rumors that he had already died of tuberculosis. Probably the most likely scenario. But the weird thing is, in 1927, the state of Illinois stopped hanging people and switched to the electric chair. But terrible Tommy O'Connor's sentence said he must be hanged by the neck until he was dead in the vicinity of the jail, which was by then no longer in use. By the 40s, it was like a parking lot. So there was a lot of debate, like, what happens if we catch terrible Tommy O'Connor? Is he still going to be hanged? Will we switch him over to the electric chair? Court orders said that he would, in fact, be hanged, even after they had switched to the chair. Now, every few years, this would come up in the papers again. Like in 1940, a reporter was down in the basement of the jail with the jail engineer and found the old pile of wood that was the gallows, still waiting for terrible Tommy O'Connor. 1977, a judge ruled that he must be dead by now, and ordered the gallows to be broken apart and sold. They were sold to a Wild West museum and then eventually to Ripley's Believe It or Not, who still have them to this day, at least last I checked. But we are able to travel anywhere in time and space. As far as anybody knows, terrible Tommy was long since dead by the 1970s, but I got a clue as to how to find out. So we're just going to zip back in time real quick here and go to a place that we've been to before, but for a very different reason than before. So here we are on Michigan Avenue. We're on Michigan Avenue here up on the Magnificent Mile, and right across the street from me here you can see a bit of the Under Armour store. The Under Armour store occupies the exact space where the Wind Blew Inn used to stand. Now, the Wind Blew Inn was a former gas station operated by Lillian Colley, a teenage flapper who wanted to recreate the atmosphere of Greenwich Village in New York right here in Chicago, at a time when you might still see a cow being walked up and down the street on Michigan Avenue. This became a place for poets, artists, also a queer hangout in the early 1920s. However, they were all often getting brought into court. Lillian, along with her possible girlfriend, Virginia, would be brought in on court dockets now and then for operating a disorderly house. It's Lillian on the right, Virginia on the left. At one point, one of them said to a judge, "Your Honor, we solemnly swear there was no snuggle pupping at the Wind Blew Inn." Still a great line. However, this is from right after that court date. The judge sentenced him to read a book of fairy tales. And instead, Virginia, who may or may not have been Lillian's romantic partner, but was definitely seeing somebody else on the side, torched the place. The Wind Blew Inn was blown out. Here we have this fantastic shot. Fire destroyed, the Wind Blew Inn employee blamed. I don't know what kind of fight they must have had, but Virginia was the chief suspect for having burned the place down. There's Lillian on the side looking like it's all she can do now to raise her arm like this. This is the goth gang sign right here. So it took me a while to figure out whatever became of Lillian. It turned out she became a playwright. As for Virginia, that was still a little bit harder, but it did turn out that right around the time that this caught fire, she got married and pregnant. Possibly the very night that she torched the place, she married a guy by the name of Jimmy Ryan and started to become kind of a den mother to a group of bank robbers. Now, according to her family, she would taunt the guys so thoroughly, and all the guys in the gang, like ripping on them for every mistake they made, every time they showed a little bit of cowardice. She would send her husband off on these errands, like foolhardy missions, and he would go on them just because he didn't want to be taunted and mocked by Virginia. But here's the thing. Jimmy Ryan, her husband, was formerly known as Eddie Darrow. He was one of the people who broke out of jail along with terrible Tommy O'Connor. You can see she had a strange influence over the men she drove to daring crimes, her father said. Her own husband faced ridiculous odds and committed foolhardy deeds in crime rather than face her taunts and denunciations. So for a few years, until Jimmy was eventually killed in 1925, at which point Virginia just disappears from the record completely, she became kind of a den mother to this group of bank robbers, one of whom had been a jailbreak buddy of terrible Tommy O'Connor. So while we are here back in time, why don't we see if Virginia can tell us anything? We are going to find terrible Tommy O'Connor tonight, and we're going to get that reward money for ourselves. $1,000. Hey, good to be back here at the Wind Blew Inn.
Well, it's about to be the wind blew out.
Who
Who wants to know?
Jimmy sent us.
My Jimmy?
Yeah, he told us first of all to tell you not to torch this place.
What a coward. He wouldn't say that if he knew about all the letters and mementos that Lillian had left laying around here. Or that we're not making any money.
What?
Can you believe that? We're not even making any money. I'll be doing that girl a favor.
I guess I can't change history if you really want to torch the place, but I want to know if you've seen Terrible Tommy O'Connor, his pal.
What makes you think I know where Tommy is?
Well, I know you secretly married one of his breakout buddies. Won't tell anybody.
All right, I guess I can tell you then. He's not around anymore. He took off in this automobile that he found in a cave outside of Hill Valley, California. Looked like it was from the future. He got it up to 88 miles an hour and out of here.
This automobile, do the doors open like this instead of like this? Up and down?
Yeah, it was real stylish. He said, "See you later, suckers," and that was the last we heard of him. Will you remind Jimmy to pack for California? Tell him to bring extra underwear. I know he's gonna forget. I love that man, but he is a screw-up.
Will do.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
All right, well, I think we may have just solved a mystery as to why they could never find Terrible Tommy O'Connor. He, like us, has been out time traveling. Now he sneaks around the world from Kiev to Carolina, a sticky finger filter from Berlin down to Belize. He could take us for a ride on a slow boat to China. Where in time is Terrible Tommy O'Connor? Now, we're going to have to check out all the dens of thieves throughout history here. We're going to find this guy, though. All right. We're going to go first. Well, let's go to one place that we've been to before just to have a quick look around and tell you what kind of places we're going here. Chicago used to have a lot of bars that specifically catered to one or another types of criminals, such as we've been here a few times before here at the Hub. Now, the Hub was a hangout on West Madison, popular with grave robbers and counterfeiters. Mostly counterfeiters. But when one of them went to jail, a bunch of the grave robbers who hung around in the place came up with a plot to steal Abraham Lincoln's body and hold it for ransom. Now, it's right where this terrifying woman on the Salon ad is now. The bartender at the time was an equally scary-looking customer, a guy by the name of Mullins. Sometimes we've been out here and had graveyard grog, 2 ounces of dark rum, 2 ounces of hot water or cold ginger beer, half an ounce of simple syrup, half an ounce of lime juice, and 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. You want this to be extra bitter. Delicious stuff, but looking around here, I don't really think this is the kind of joint Terrible Tommy would have hung out at. The kind of manual labor involved in counterfeiting and grave robbing was really kind of beyond what he was going to be doing. Let's zip away from here, in fact. Let's go to a place that's a little bit more sporting. After all, I went a long way to film this place. We're going to go to New York. Down here in the shadow of the Brooklyn Bridge, right where we ended the mini tour yesterday. If we look over here from the bridge, you can see just a bit of this house with the dormers here. This is one of the oldest houses in Manhattan, one of the 2 or 3 oldest. Let's get a better view of it from down below the bridge. It's kind of a miracle this one survived the bridge construction. Right here, this red one with the dormers is from 1773. It's called the Joseph Rose House, named after Captain Joseph Rose, who built the place back in 1773. Here's a more head-on view of it. Well, look on the inside of it. This has now been converted into luxury housing, but the staircase looks like the stairway from hell here. It's hard to think of this particularly luxurious looking inside. Captain Joseph Rose himself appears in the graveyards of Trinity Church in St. Paul's book on account of he himself is buried at Trinity Church. Now, there is an obituary that says that he himself died without a single enemy in the world. The people he enslaved might have disputed that a little bit, but after his death, eventually the house became a place called Sportsman's Hall, run by a guy by the name of Kit Burns. Well, he called it Sportsman's Hall. Everybody else called it the Rat Pit. This was a bar, one of a few such places in New York over the years, where the popular sport was you could go and watch rats kill dogs in the middle of an amphitheater. A lot of these were captured by Kit Burns' son-in-law, who used a special pair of tongs to capture rats, and by doing so could capture something like 100 of them in a sack in a single day. These would be thrown into the pit with the dogs, and in between rounds, that same son-in-law would bite the heads off of mice for a dime or rats for a quarter. is this a wretched hive of scum and villainy or what? Also, it would be closed once an hour a day so that people could hold a prayer meeting there if this was something for which the prayer meeting people paid a whole lot. I mean, the dogs kill the rats. So should we send that the other way around? It is still a thing. People train their dogs in New York to kill rats. People go out on rat patrol here. But let's check in with Kit Burns here and see if he can tell us anything about where Terrible Tommy O'Connor might be. Hey, you Kit Burns, right?
Yes, I'm Kit Burns. Welcome to the Rat Pit.
Well, hi, Mr. Burns. You got any drink specials here?
I can't serve you right now. There's a prayer meeting over in the pit.
Really? Did you get religion?
Get religion? Well, I don't know about religion, but I got gin. Just can't serve you right now. These religious people are paying me $2.50 a week to let them have a prayer meeting for an hour or so a day.
Is this the same pit where people watch dogs
Animals?
killing
Animals? We kill rats here.
Hmm.
Rats aren't animals, they're vermin. You saw one of them in that ship of yours, you'd kill it, right?
Hey, I'm just here. I'm not here to ask you to justify the extent. I'm
Let's
looking
see,
for
we've
Terrible
got
Tommy
Terrible
O'Connor.
Thomas, Terrible Leroy, Tommy the Clock, Medicine Tommy, Tommy the Butcher. Nope, no Terrible Tommy O'Connor here.
Well, this Terrible Tommy's a time traveler.
Look around you. If we had any time travelers here, you think I'd even notice? I think 3 or 4 of these fellows are time travelers.
Well, this guy would have arrived in a suit.
An automobile. Who's it?
An automobile. I guess we've scared old Kit Burns right away at this point. Well, looking around here, I suppose if you could go anywhere in time and space, this is probably not the establishment you would actually go to attend. So why don't we make our way out of here? Well, really, why don't we hang out with some music here? This is some music we've heard before, but we're in a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and it's been several years since we did hear this. So here's our old pals May Haley's Grave with some appropriate music for the kind of place that Obi-Wan Kenobi referred to as a wretched hive of scum and villainy. May Haley's Grave, everybody. Just a brief musical interlude here. Now, eventually this place was shut down by a guy who would go on to found the Society of Prevention for Cruelty to Animals. But killing rats is still, a popular pastime with some people in New York City. So, while we're at it, let's go ahead and check out a little other place in New York. I know we just refresh your memory on this place a little bit. Down on Houston Street, 26 East Houston, an address that no longer exists, was Harry Hill's Variety Theater. This is a place where the main attraction was generally boxing, but also there were ventriloquists who would entertain here. There would be dancers who danced wearing very little at all. There were Scotsmen who danced wearing kilts and danced around in such a way as to show that they were in fact real Scotsmen. Down here right below me you can see this guy is drinking a sherry cobbler, which was a popular drink at the time. You can tell this is sherry cobbler because he's got a straw in it. When Dickens wrote about this, he had to explain what a straw even was. But really, it's dry sherry, grenadine, frozen fruit chopped, and fruit juice. Not unlike a drink that I had over at Le Piano called the Drunken Hessian just this past week. It is pretty delicious stuff. We've been here before, so we're going to move on a little bit. Why don't we go back to the 20th century, back to Chicago, and make our way out to the town of Cicero, also known as Caponeville, birthplace of Jimmy McGill, alias Slippin' Jimmy, alias Saul Goodman. So here we are in Cicero, Illinois. There's a little sign over there, welcome to Cicero, below which is what I believe to be their town motto, Play slots, win big. This appears on just about every business in Cicero. But let's move over here a little bit. This particular play slots establishment, right here on Roosevelt Road, officially Sarno's restaurant, but you can see their main attraction seems to be slots these days. Now, in the 1920s, this was a secret gambling parlor. Doesn't look particularly secret nowadays, but in the 1920s, it was referred to as the Pony Inn Cafe. Now, this was a mob hangout. It was a gambling den. It was a speakeasy. And as of 1925, this place was controlled by Al Capone. But in 1926, all of a sudden, their beer got better and cheaper. They had switched loyalties over to the Klondike O'Donnell and Miles O'Donnell gang. These are not to be confused with the Spike O'Donnell gang on the south side. Miles and Klondike were the O'Donnells of the west side. They offered the bartender barrels of beer for $50 a barrel, which was $10 less than he was paying Capone, and it was better too. Now, 1926, though, they had a particular visitor who, I don't know, we might find Terrible Tommy in here. Hey, Assistant Attorney McSwiggan? The one they call Little Mac, the hanging prosecutor.
You must be mistaken. This is very common facial hair these days.
No, you're Little Mac. I know you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I'm doing. I'm just having a nice non-alcoholic beer while I search for Terrible Tommy O'Connor.
Yes. But didn't he work with Moran? This is Capone
not
territory.
This place. The West Side O'Donnells run this bar now. Better beer at better prices.
How do you know?
Look over there. It's Calvin Coolidge.
Like I'm going to turn my head to see Calvin Coolidge.
I mean, looks like he's not here, boys. Why don't we try the next place? You said he might be up on Toohey Avenue?
Sure, that's what Assistant State's Attorney McSwiggan was doing over here. Assistant State's Attorney McSwiggan was known as the Hanging Prosecutor, a fairly common nickname at the time. He had recently failed to get a conviction against Scalisi and Anselmi, a couple of Capone's top hitmen, and a couple of years before had failed to get a conviction against Miles O'Donnell and Klondike O'Donnell of the O'Donnell gang of the West Side. But he was kind of a rising star in the legal profession. Only 26 years old, already had 5 hanging convictions under his belt, and was thought to be one of the most incorruptible people of them all. But here's the thing, one night, April of 1926, he was here at the Pony Inn Cafe, and word got back to a place about a mile away. This is what it looks like now. You can see that we were in the parking lot where this building used to stand just this past week. But this was the site of the Hawthorne restaurant, which was Capone's main headquarters at the time. According to at least one witness who was present that night, word got back that the O'Donnells were hanging out over at the Pony Inn Cafe, a business they had just poached from him. He opened up a wall panel and pulled out what was then a very new weapon in Chicago gangland, the Thompson submachine gun, alias the Tommy gun. So, a squad of gunmen, apparently led by Capone himself, went over to the Pony Inn, and as several people started to get into the car, including 4 members of the O'Donnell gang, plus what turned out to be Assistant State's Attorney McSwiggan, these gunmen opened fire. Now, the 2 O'Donnells were both okay, but 2 of their gangsters, plus William McSwiggan, were killed. Exactly what William McSwiggan was doing hanging out with the O'Donnells was never exactly explained. The official explanation at first was just that he had been, out gathering evidence for an upcoming case. But also it came out that he was an old boyhood friend of the O'Donnells who he had mysteriously failed to get a conviction for. And the story was really most likely he was out there to reassure the bartender that, yep, there's protection here. You don't have to worry about Al Capone. Except that obviously he did. So here we were. This ended up being a major problem for Capone because even though they didn't really have any evidence other than one witness who mysteriously forgot what he had seen, they launched massive investigations. This is Detective Sergeant John W. Norton, that same guy who had been with the force ever since the H.H. Holmes days. They busted into Ralph Capone's house and found all kinds of hidden compartments and secret rooms and guns being used as curtain rods. I've often wondered if his mind flashed back to looking for secret passages back at the H.H. Holmes place. So about a year after this, there was a reporter by the name of Patricia Doherty. She worked for the Chicago Herald-Examiner, but wrote a whole story for Cosmo, where she went to interview Al Capone. She went into the Hawthorne restaurant, went through a whole phalanx of bodyguards. This is sometimes portrayed in Capone documentaries as Capone giving a press conference about McSwiggan, but really this was just a statement given to Patricia Doherty, a person who has not been studied enough. I'm working on that. She'll be on the Patreon pretty soon, down below. During the interview, he said, "No, I didn't kill McSwiggan. I liked McSwiggan. Just a few days before he died, I gave him a bottle of scotch for his old man. Why would I kill him? I was paying McSwiggan. I paid him plenty, and I got what I paid for." This is entirely possible. He also noted to Patricia how hard it was to get Thompson submachine guns. Now, you take some of the tours in the city now, they'll tell you, oh, you could just buy them in any hardware store back then. Kind of true, hardware stores sold them, but you had to prove that you were an employee of the federal government to be able to buy one. Capone told Doherty that the best thing they could do was bribe bank guards to get them. In any case, the murder of McSwiggan was never officially solved. Everybody kind of knew it was Capone, though the general consensus is Capone didn't know McSwiggan was out with the O'Donnell brothers that night. More likely, when he saw McSwiggan, he thought he was seeing Jaime Weiss, his bitter rival from the north side at the time, and just kind of opened fire indiscriminately. He was surprised and probably disappointed when he found out that McSwiggan had been killed. And he should have been, too, because in the raid after this, they found a bank book that ended up being what they used to put him in jail in the long run. So, all right, let's move on a little bit more. I got a little bit more time to kill, so let's talk just briefly about Sam Cardinella's pool hall here. Down here on 22nd Place was the pool hall of Sam Cardinella, known in the neighborhood as Il Diavolo. At least the story goes. This was a pool room where, according to the story, he would teach all the kids who came in there to commit crimes and then send them off on errands, as though he had read Oliver Twist and thought that it was a how-to manual. Eventually, Detective Sergeant John W. Norton busted into the place, arrested an awful lot of kids, about mostly teenagers, who called themselves a murder clique, who admitted killing 4 and robbing 250 people. Now, it was generally said that Cardinella was the mastermind of all of this stuff, but there's a fairly convincing case to be made that really he was more of the fall guy. He was probably holding their guns for them, but police at this time in 1919, when they had shut down the saloons as a lead into Prohibition, were telling everybody that it wasn't really going to affect Chicago crime at all. All the real crime was just moving into the pool halls. They found a pool hall owner to blame this on. At least one of the gangsters was quoted as talking to another gangster in the jail and saying, "Do you believe they want me to say that this illiterate fruit peddler who barely speaks English is some kind of criminal mastermind?" It's a pretty convincing case to be made. In any case, his pool hall was definitely a hangout for the underworld, a den of thieves. And of course, just a couple of blocks away from it was, well, for one thing, this empty lot was where the Al Capone's Four Deuces Club was. Timothy, yes, it does look like the guy who was a Lone Runner rebel and picked up Pee Wee Herman. But just down the road here was Colosimo's restaurant. Now, this was a Big Jim Colosimo's place. Big Jim was the head of Chicago Vice in the days before Prohibition. And really, I think you can tell a lot about the place just by this lawsuit I found from it. Marie Kerrigan versus James Colosimo and Mike the Greek. This guy actually turns up in legal paperwork under the name Mike the Greek. However, the story goes that he was claiming that we shouldn't be getting involved in illegal liquor here in Chicago, which meant that he became a target for all the people who did want to do illegal liquor in Chicago, who knew that it was going to be like brewing your own money. When Detective Sergeant John W. Norton interviewed his new bride, he asked, "Do you suspect anyone?" And she said, "I should say that I suspect everyone." But let's take a look around here. Nope, nobody here. No sign of Terrible Tommy here. He probably would have gone further away from 1920 anyhow. Well, why don't we go up? You know, I think a lot of the stories about this place
I think so, Adam, but where are we going to get?
Hang on,
really
hang on. Okay, there we go. A lot of the stories about the Green Miller kind of exaggerated. Great place to hang out, but all the stories about Al Capone hanging out here are way, way exaggerated. But you know what? You might recognize from our theme song, Texas Guinan. She had her act here for a while, which consisted partly of like throwing spitballs at people and insulting all of the crowd. Kind of like the 1920s and 30s version of Aristide Bruant, who had the same act at Le Mirliton in Paris de la Belle Peau. Toulouse-Lautrec painted him. She had her own cocktail as well, a whiskey cobbler, which was a large glass of, use a large bar glass and add a half tablespoon of sugar, a dash of maraschino, a dash of bitters, a jigger of whiskey, and a slice of orange. Sounds pretty good to me. But in 1930, while she was performing at the Green Mill, there was a shooting here. Hooey, she says of the Green Mill shooting. Mentions here, so this year they took her to the Somerdale police station. I don't know if you guys know the story about the Somerdale police station, but in 1960, it turned out the cops at the Somerdale police station were basically spending all their time engaging in burglaries and robberies. And hey, right here down below, the very same thing, the Toohey Gang. Whole thing about the secrets of the Toohey Gang. There were rumors that Terrible Tommy joined up with the Toohey Gang. Nah. Also, there was a police officer, also named O'Connor, who expressed his disgust at the Somerdale cops and said, "It's possible for 8 men to undo all the good work of 10,000 others." The folk singer Bob Gibson had a parody of this line talking about Chicago on one of his live albums. He said, "Can you believe it? It only takes 10,000 crooked cops to ruin the reputations of 8 good ones." Hey, his name is O'Connor. You know, Terrible Tommy always said the police were the real criminals. O'Connor, Toohey Gang. Virginia, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Adam, but where are we going to get that much popcorn?
It would take a real genius to figure that one out. Ship's mechanic Eli, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Adam. But even if we could get enough tap shoes for all the chimps, they prefer ballet.
I was going to point out that he was standing at the Warner Brothers lot when he said that. Mandy Crypt and Baby Tay, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Adam, but I really don't feel like chasing chickens in the snow.
That's a fair point. I don't know what you guys are thinking of. I think we got to go over to the Somerdale police station, as a matter of fact. Let's go over to the Somerdale police station. That was the folk singer Bob Gibson. Buried unmarked at Rose Hill Cemetery right now. This at Foster and Winchester, just near Damon, right near where we did the virtual mini tour this morning, is the old Somerdale District Police Station. It's been sitting empty for years now. So the side of it and the parking lot are covered in a mural by Justice Rowe. You can always find a Justice Rowe mural around town. People will cover that one on Mural Monday one of these days soon. Not a lot left to indicate that it was ever a police station. A theater tried to buy it up a while ago. It's mostly been sitting empty. But they do still have these stars up here on the front. This was the Somerdale station. Now, back in 1958, there was a guy in the neighborhood, a young man by the name of Richard Morrison, who was kind of a low-level burglar, enough so that the police kind of knew who he was. And in those days, it was a big rule among burglars is to always carry a $50 bill with you, because that's what the cops would charge you in case you got caught. But one day he was walking down the street and chanced upon a police officer that he knew a little bit by the name of Frank Ferracci, shown here looking as though he's about to start singing "If I Only Had a Brain" at any minute. And Richard asked, "Hey, Frank, how are you doing?" And Frank said, "Well, you know, we'd be a lot better if you cut us in on some of the loot now and then. We like nice things too, you know." He then told all about a police officer that he worked with here at Somerdale who was really itching for a new pair of golf clubs. So Richard eventually decided to go along with it, and pretty soon a whole ring of cops that were here at the Somerdale station were doing very little besides organizing and profiting from burglaries. Eventually in January of 1960 they were arrested. Most of the police officers said they knew nothing about it, but it very quickly turned out that the top cops knew all about it. The police just happened to take care of their own. And I am just guessing if we hang around here long enough, we just might run into... Here he is! Terrible Tommy O'Connor! That's you! We found you!
Ah, another time traveler, eh? My machine's got a lot more style than yours, see?
Does it make julienne fries?
Who needs them? We're making bank. We like the nice things, see?
And of course, who's gonna look for you at a police station?
It's the life, boys! And I don't even gotta kill nobody. I'm working with the law and making more than I ever did off of that Illinois Central job, see? But around 1960, they're gonna get caught, so I'm gonna head on out while the getting's good.
And not so fast. We're bringing you to justice.
You? In that heap? Well, I'd like to see you try.
We're coming for you right now, Terrible Tommy. Wait a minute. What are you doing? What's happening? How are these effects so special? He's getting away. And it's 8:40. I'm afraid he's gotten away from us, everybody. All right, we have gathered through dens of thieves all over Chicago and New York City. We've learned an awful lot, but we didn't learn the whereabouts of Terrible Tommy O'Connor. But we came awfully close, didn't we? All right, I imagine that we'll run into him again, each in more and more interesting ways, week after week after week, as the series progresses. But all right, everybody, upcoming Time Travel Pub Crawl, December 18th, a week from now, one of our classics, our annual tradition, Drink Like the Dickens. Our holiday pub crawl coming up next week. I got some new footage for that one too, as I have been in London, where quite a bit of this stuff comes up. So thanks everybody for joining me. We're going to put the Earl Father Hines back on, and we will just hang out like we always do, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining me. These things are awfully, it was a foolhardy errand for me to try to put these kind of things together in 1 week. And also, I just wish to kind of point out here, you see where Eli filmed his Are You Pondering What I'm Pondering? He's literally at the Warner Brothers lot to do an Animaniacs reference. Pinky and the Brain reference, but they were an Animaniacs segment first, right? All right, so thanks, everybody. Let's put the Earl Father Hines back on.
Jive concert by Earl Father Hines and his orchestra, so now it can be told it's reaching you from the new Grand Terrace on Chicago's south side, where the couples are gaily dancing here in the cool atmosphere.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Jive of Earl Father Hines. Yeah, but now comes Leroy Harris saying, now it can be told. Now it can be told.
Hey, Katie and John. Hey, North Carolina.
That we have met, the world may know the sentimental story. The greatest romance
Evening, Lori. Good night.
ever knew.
I think I can still get some music for that one. I'd like to have somebody do Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, but with Terrible Tommy O'Connor. Debbie, I am drinking scotch tonight.
Is just an imitation. The great love story has never been told before.
Heather, the Summerdale police station was at Foster in Winchester. So 1900 something West Foster. Literally, no, I haven't made it to Mount Trashmore yet. Next week will probably be better. But you gotta get some fresh snow for it. It gets worn out fast. Luann, yes, I got them. I haven't had a chance to wade into them yet, but thank you for sending those over. This came in today. You see this? It's Eli on Jeopardy, mentioning the time travel pub crawls. Thanks to Jenna for helping out as Virginia Harrison tonight.
Add to it a little of the effervescent swing of Father Hines, and you have Beside a Moonlit Stream. Softly, the tropic breeze is blowing, through eyes with love light glowing, beside a moonlit stream. Faintly, the waterfall is singing, loving arms are clinging, beside a moonlit stream.
I spent some time today trying to figure out what became of Virginia Harrison. I think she might have actually been married and had a kid with Jimmy before the whole thing with The Wind Blew In. But it's difficult. Eli came in a very strong second on Jeopardy. Like, he dominated the whole first round, didn't quite bet enough on Final Jeopardy. But it was a nail-biter of an episode. He's got a pretty good shot at being on the Second Chances show later. Yeah, Jim, I'm going to be in New York during all of the Dillon, Illinois shows, but I'm going to catch Iowa City and hopefully Saginaw and Detroit, which will get me up to 100. I'm going to paste in the thing again here. This is where you can vote for the Johann Hawk book as the best new book by a Chicagoan. Ah, that's awesome, Megan. And you know what I'm going to do? There's a show in Saginaw the day before the show in Detroit. I finish up in New York just in time to fly to Saginaw. I'm going to get a ride with somebody so I can say that I hitchhiked from Saginaw. Shouldn't take me 4 days. I'm not going clear to the New Jersey Turnpike. But that, Detroit, if all goes well, will be my 100th show.
And now comes up number 8 on our program of dancing, a tune titled, melodically, A Little Kiss at Twilight.
Good night, Heather. Debbie, possibly. It's got to be someplace pretty close to the venue for me, though. But I don't know what the hotel scene is like in Saginaw just yet, or if I have to spend one night there or two. We shall see. That I won't know for a while yet. I couldn't work around school groups at the time. It's a slow year for school groups so far, though. Hence these new tours. And Phoenix making like a tree and getting out of here. Diane, good luck with that. The password is rowdy, if you need that. The password for the pre-sales. For most shows, it's rowdy. It does bug me that with it's a slow year, so I can't like rearrange my travel gigs. But all of the Illinois shows, Waukegan and Rockford, they're right there. And I'll be in New York. Earl Father Hines live at the Grand Terrace here on Chicago's Great South Side.
Down the groove now, we rather imagine you'll hear that famous 7 brass of Earl Hines in Bambino.
Is it hard to get Dillon tickets? Not particularly. The trick with it, Emily, is the Iowa City's website for the auditorium is kind of clunky. That's the tricky part. But no, often I don't have a ticket the day of the show. I just manage to get one. Now and then it's trouble, but it's just like random shows it'll be trouble. Then other random shows you could get aftermarket tickets for $25. You never know. There doesn't seem to be much rhyme or reason to it. But usually it's not that tricky. Miles is asleep over here. Probably nicer for me. I don't want to take the camera into my bedroom. Octavio, yes, I'm doing a lecture on Al Capone for Chicagoans. Need to refresh some stuff here. Here's there's the Empress, Miss Ember. Ember, you want to say hi to the nice people? Sleeping on a sweatshirt, okay. Where is he? In Iowa City? Someplace on campus. It's like the Harchin, something like that auditorium. I've only seen him in Iowa once. I saw a Des Moines show one time. Would have liked to see him when he played at Sec Taylor Stadium, one of those summer festival things. I was too broke that year. Not too broke this year yet.
But here's rhythm.
We'll see.
And jive, Earl Father Hines and the St. Louis Blues.
Jeff, yes, Omaha's in March as well. Hampshire, that's the one. Yeah, I'm not seeing as many of them this spring as I do some springs. That I know of. You never know when somebody's going to talk me into going to 2 shows in Texas or something. It's an adventure. Towns you've never been to. Towns you'd never go to. People you'd never meet otherwise. We're going to Detroit with my friend Graham, who lives in Cornwall. We gotta go visit Graham in Cornwall. Hey, Marie. Jen and I went to see a Depeche Mode cover band last week. Strange Love. They were very good. Could have done without the food poisoning, but that's just me. Not their fault. Good night, Alex. Yeah, don't let H.H. Holmes steal Christmas. You all seen that picture of Trump getting the medal and it looks like he's stealing it from Cindy Lou Who? Alex. Thanks for tuning into a mostly new time travel pub crawl. Next week, again, one of my favorites is Drink Like the Dickens. It's the most interesting drinks we've got, some of the most interesting locations we've got, some of the most coherent plot that we have. Graham looks as though he's going to about 14 shows this tour.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Kathleen, I'll figure out Find a Grave Friday in the morning. I got an idea for where I want to go for it, but I got to make sure that the graves can be found. There's been more snow on the ground lately, you know. Remember when we found the eminent cheesemonger James Kraft and I had to like shovel snow off of the grave to see it?
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Laura, yeah, the cats have been around. Here's Ember. Hey, Ember. You see how you looked up right when I said your name? You're a clever cat. All right, so that is Earl Father Hines wrapping up, which means it is time for me to be wrapping up. So everybody, thank you very much, especially those of you who are still kicking in donations for these things or joining the Patreon. Lots of cool stuff happening on the Patreon. And once again, tomorrow, next week, we will be doing Time Travel Pub Crawl presents Drink Like the Dickens. Now that Time Travel Pub Crawl has gotten a shout out on Jeopardy, I felt like I had to do a few of these. So thanks a lot, everybody. I'm Adam from Mysterious Chicago Tours. I will see you all in the morning. Till then, stay safe, stay strong, and of course, if you can, stay spooky, everybody. Have a great night.